Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna have a look at this gorgeous 2023 Toyota Tundra. And this is not just any Toyota Tundra, this is my favorite trim, and that is of course the TRD Pro. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna have a look at this design. But first, before we do that, from a front, side and rear, obviously, also talk about the interior. If you're interested in this specific TRD Pro, just head over to Urban Motors. I'm gonna link it down in the description and check this out. They have two in right now that looks very, very cool. And I would suggest you go and check those out on the website. Let's talk about some of the spec and tech of specifically the TRD Pro. So we have a 3.4 liter I-Force twin turbo V6 hybrid putting out 437 horsepower and 583 pound-feet of torque. However, this is the hybrid one, so you also get an electric motor in there, and that puts out an additional 48 horsepower over the lesser Tundras, and that brings it up to a total of 437 horsepower. 0 to 60 in this beast is done in 7.5 seconds, and that's pretty impressive considering it weighs 6,000 pounds, and it still gets better fuel consumption than my Ram Rebel at 19 combined. Not bad for what you get, but you do also have it's a hybrid, and it's a V6 instead of the old 5.7 liter V8, which unfortunately I guess doesn't exist anymore. However, I think this V6 combination with a hybrid electric motor, it's the way to go. Still have a pretty large V6 up front with the electric boost, which is going to help you specifically with the torque and the low range power. I really love how this is spec'd, so you might see something different about this specific Tundra. That is that it doesn't have the stock wheels. So these are actually 35-inch wheels. It comes stock with 32.5-inch, I think it is, so we can call it 33-inch, but I think 35-inch definitely look a whole lot better. And you also have the TRD Pro camo texture all around this truck, looking great. I do love the headlight design. So let's start with the front end and the design of the front end. What's differentiating this from the rest of the lineup of Tundras, the TRD Pro comes with the Toyota stamped out in the front end like this, instead of the Toyota logo right here in the middle. You also have this stock light bar, which I think is a great idea, because that's one of the, accessories that a lot of people who buy this truck want to have. So they implemented that stock, which is a really good idea. Then you have the front camera right here. You also have LEDs right here. What I'm missing though in the front end is tow hooks. You don't have tow hooks anywhere, and I think this location where the lights are, the LED lights, this would be a pretty optimal position to have some tow hooks sticking out, but you don't get that with the TRD Pro. One detail that when the Tundra first came out that I thought looked a little bit weird was this treatment of the bumper. So you see these lines here, this line here, then coming into this, and then you have a line here. It looks a little bit bulky in my opinion, but if you get it like this in black, same thing with the Bronco that I just reviewed, it feels like everything just melts better integrated in the front end when you have it black, and everything just flows in the same color. And you also have this in black. When you have this in silver, for example, on some trim levels, I don't really think it adds anything to the front end design, so this is definitely my preferred color for the Tundra. Looking at the headlights, they also have specific black inserts. The trim inside here is black on the TRD Pro. Also adds to a more sporty, aggressive look. You have 4 main LEDs in here for the high beams, and you also have a functional vent right here. So thank you, Toyota, for keeping the vents functional in the front end. The grille is completely open. You can see there is no fakeness going on here. Everything is open to the radiators, both on the side and also in the middle in there. And this is actually a little bit wider than the normal Tundra, and that means it's wider than 80 inches. You're gonna have to have these marker lights instead of having them in the side mirror like we have on the Bronco Raptor, for example. Toyota opted to have them down here, so we have the same treatment as well in the rear, which I'm gonna show you in just a minute. The design of the headlights, I really like this, because this line, as you can see, we follow this line, it follows into this fender line, which is very aggressive, a lot more aggressive than the previous Tundras. It's starting to grow on me, this design, specifically when you have the correct wheels on it. I think the 33s look a little too small for this truck, but when you have the 35s on here, it just completely transforms the stance of this truck. Up top on the hood, we had these plastic pieces that I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of. They're actually not functional, so they're just for decoration to set the TRD Pro apart a bit more from the rest of the lineup. And you also have the same treatment here, of course, with these indicator lights on the side. Now, coming and look at it from a side view, I think the front end, the bumper sticks down maybe a little too far. So imagine you go off-roading with this truck, you want to have a skid plate being the first thing that hits whatever obstacle you're going over. But in this case, if we go a little closer, I think that we do have a skid plate, but it's all the way in there. So the first thing that's gonna hit is this, and this is plastic. So what I would do, I would probably want to have this being in some rougher material, some sort of metal, to make sure I'm not damaging the front end bumper as soon as I go off-roading. If we look at this line here, for example, this crease, it's a very similar crease to what we have in the front end. What I would like to do, as like we have in the front, having the line kind of follow into the headlight here, continuing here, then kind of fades into the door. I would want to have something maybe similar here, that it continues, but instead of going into the headlight, it obviously goes into the tail light. I think that would be a cool kind of way to tie this design together better with the front end and the rear. So as you can see, this is a Tundra Special, when you have the entire rear window just going down. I think that's really cool, and you get a lot of fresh air when it's warm and summery outside. Super nice feature. You also have the cameras up there for the bed, and you also have a light, big light up there, as you can see. So let's talk about these tail lights. I think these are interesting. I talked about this when it first came out. I think same thing here. It looks so much better in black, and also the black exhaust pipes that you have specifically for the TRD Pro. And here you can see the marker lights in the rear, same thing that we had in the front, but now we have them here. But these taillights, I think they're interesting. They lack sort of a dynamic movement to them, because they look exactly the same in the top and in the bottom. So it looks like a clamp that had been clamped on to this design, and I would rather have it have some sort of dynamic feature to it. So maybe a different thickness of the LED or something like that, or maybe cut it right here, so you cut off this corner and create some sort of movement up or down in the taillight graphics. I do like the implementation of the marker lights in the rear. I think this looks good, specifically in this I think it's called tactical camo or something like that. This beautiful texture that we have on the bumper and all over this truck. And of course we have TRD Pro stamped into the tailgate here, which I think looks beautiful. Looking at the bed, let's fold this down and see how big the bed is. We have a bed liner in here, but there is nothing really specific to talk about in the bed. We have a power outlet right there, which is perfect if you want to plug in whatever power tool you have at home without any adapters. You don't need that. We also have a light on each side, and we have Tundra stamped in the top part of the tailgate as well. Small details like this that I appreciate, that kind of separates the Tundra from other trucks. So let's have a look at the inside. We talked about the design of the exterior, front, side, and rear. So I want to talk about some of the features that we have on the inside of this 2023 Toyota Tundra. All right, let's fire it up and see what we get on the screen as a welcome screen. Very cool Toyota Tundra in metallic letters, and of course this is all digital, which is the trend right now, to have pretty much all the gauges digital. I don't really oppose it, specifically not in a truck like this, because as you can see, we have a nice housing for it here, so it doesn't create glare. The biggest issue I have with having, you know, a big iPad stuck up here is that it's gotta be so hard to read what the gauges say when it's a very sunny day out and you can't really tell because of the glare from the sun. And the implementation of this 14-inch infotainment screen right here looks pretty good. It does have some connection to the rest of the interior, which is all I'm asking for, to have something like this. Maybe these vents connecting to the screen, so it doesn't look too lazy. It actually looks like someone made the effort to implement this into the design. We have big vents right here on the sides on both the driver, of course, and the passenger, and on the side of the screen. And here we have the 360 view, which I think is really cool. I'm not sure why we have, it looks like it's lowered on some JDM wheels. It looks pretty cool. Maybe it's encouraging me to you know, step up my JDM game with my Tundra. But it looks pretty decent, this 360 view. Very helpful, specifically when parking and when going off-road. Then you have this big massive gear selector right here. Feels super sturdy and actually pretty comfortable to just grab, even though it's pretty big. And then you have, of course, the TRD logo here. In the center console we have a small shallow compartment up top. Pretty cool. We have some compartments here as well. You can slide this back, you can open the whole thing to have a much bigger storage compartment right here in the middle. So overall, this interior, I really like it because we have the housing for the gauge cluster. Gauge cluster is super crisp, high quality, high resolution. We have a nice TRD steering wheel with the TRD logo down here at the bottom. And last but not least, it's very hot in here, so I'm going to turn down the heated seats. But we do have physical buttons for a lot of functions here, not just the, you know, normal climate functions. We have for the camera, for example, as I just showed you. We have for the trailer, and we have traction control on and off, and the locking rear differential. And you have wireless charging here at the bottom, very typical these days as well. The selection for the four-wheel drive or two-wheel drive is located right here. You have the drive modes selector with this dial. You can have tow, haul, MTS, DAC, crawl, or just normal drive mode. And the steering wheel settings, normal, pretty normal stuff. You have the cruise control options here, and you have the controls for the stereo on the left side. One thing I wish I had ever since I first test drove a car with it is this. I want to have a backup camera in the rear view mirror like this. It's such a great feature and something that I think every single car should have, specifically trucks or bigger vehicles. It makes it so much easier to see what's behind you. Another detail I love is this, specifically for the TRD Pro. You have Toyota embossed in the center dash here. Looks really cool and old school, specifically that in combination with the Toyota up front in the grille. Same kind of lettering, and it sets the TRD Pro apart from the rest of the lineup as well. And this is pretty cool. You have a retractable side step, so when you close it, it goes away, and when you open it, it comes back out. Pretty cool. Now let's have a look at the rear view and the space in the rear. We have plenty of space back here. Look at this legroom. I feel like I'm in first class seats. It's absolutely huge. And you also have a bunch of connections down here if you want to charge your phone to two different USB ports, and the normal home electric plug here. Perfect if you want to plug in a vacuum and clean this out. So these floor mats are also specific for the TRD Pro, very rugged looking and super easy to clean. These seats, some of the best looking seats I've seen in a truck so far. This is a very easy material to clean, and that's a feature that goes throughout the entire interior that the designers actually thought about, is how are the users actually going to use the truck. And they want to make it easy for cleaning, obviously, because this is a TRD Pro, the trim level that's most likely to you know, go off-road and get dirty. But if I was buying a TRD Pro, the first thing I would do is definitely switch out the wheels, get them in 35s just like we have here. I don't think 37s would look as good, even though they're bigger, maybe look a little beefier, but I don't want to lift the truck too much. I like to have it pretty much to stock level. This looks like it's just been leveled and fitted with the 35-inch tires. All right, guys, let's take this TRD Pro for a drive and see what it's all about. Twin turbo V6. We have 435 something horsepower and 583 pound-feet of torque. Should be interesting, specifically compared to the Rebel. Let's see how this feels. I do love the cameras that we have in here. It's super useful, and this is one detail that makes this feel like a lot newer truck than mine, for example. One thing I do love just from the get-go, are the cameras. I love that this is always on, the camera in the rear view mirror, and the displays. I don't have anything against this integration right here. I think it works well. As I said, it's well integrated in the rest of the dash, and that's really not a lot to ask when it comes to modern integration of screens in the interior. If we're gonna have screens being pretty much everything in the interior, we might as well have them be a little nicely integrated. Otherwise, I think interior designers are essentially going to be out of a job if we just put a big dash here and simplify the interior further than what we have right now. I think we're at the limit where I personally do not want to see any more simplification of interiors and keep the artistic feeling of the interior design. Oh, it's got a nice rumble to it. Almost sounds like a V8. Not sure if you can hear it or not, but it sounds pretty good. It's super smooth. I mean, I wasn't expecting anything else from a brand new Tundra, specifically not when we have the 35-inch tires on here. It's super smooth over, well, we're not going over any rough terrain right now, but let's floor it here for a second and let's see what the power is all about. It sounds very good for a twin turbo V6. Not as good as a V8, but still it has some rumble to it. Again, I'm not sure if that's being pumped into the cabin or not, but as I said before with the Bronco Raptor, I don't mind it because it actually enhances the driving experience. Shifts are pretty smooth as well. But yeah, if I was getting a Tundra, absolutely the first thing I would do is to switch out the tires. As I said, I think the 32.5-inch tires, they don't really fill up the wheelhouses as well as I would want them to. 35s, just 2 inches more, and you have the perfect setup, in my opinion, for a Tundra. Alright guys, so that was my quick review of the 2023 Toyota Tundra here at Urban Motors. Thanks again to them for letting me spend some time with this beauty today, specifically with the 35-inch tires. Looks absolutely fantastic. I'm gonna link this location down in the description. Go and check it out if you're interested in this and more so off-road vehicles in general. They have a lot in there. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.